mean, we talk more about Noah's mom than we talk about you, in all honesty. Just because.
Do I really need to listen to podcasting because you talk about me? Maybe I would learn something.
You think that we should talk more about you?
No.
Oh, see, we don't. We don't.
I don't want you to.
Like, we talk more about Amy.
That's okay, Amy. You can have that. That's
like
all right.
she's
her glory.
Yeah. No, it's
She's
more
the
of like
good mom.
She's the good mom.
She's the best mom.
I mean, she's a good mom. Yeah, I'd say she's all right. So yeah, who are you?
I mean,
this is a new
Joey's
voice.
mom.
Yeah. So. I guess I did a little bit of an introduction already. Hey, everybody. Welcome to I Don't Know, though, the only show on the internet where we talk about your problems more than we answer them and help you. And
I'll fit right in.
Yeah. So do you just want to be known as Joey's mom, or do you want, like, your actual name?
Joey's mom's fine, but I'm Ginger.
Yeah. It's Ginger. Ginny, if you will.
Aunt Ginny.
Yeah. And
And now Grandma Ginny.
Grandma Ginny. Are you excited about that, though?
Oh, I love it. It's awesome.
Yeah. It's pretty cool. Like, it was weird going back home and, like, being an uncle for a while.
It's kind of cool to watch you do it.
Yeah, it's really odd because, like, you know, spending time with a baby. I've never been like a huge fan of babies because, like, I always follow
they always climb all over you though.
Yeah, I mean, little things just are attracted to me. Like, you won't let me pet your cat.
Right, because he steals cats. He's the cat whisperer.
And yeah, so like it's weird because I don't know.
We stepped right into it though. It was cool though.
Yeah, I mean, I usually have the same mentality that like Mike Birbiglia has with babies. He's a comedian, and he's like, what if I kill a baby? He's like, then I'm never getting a birthday present ever again after that. Like, what do we get Mike?
Nobody will ever forgive you.
They're like, what do we get Mike? Mike killed the baby. And so that's kind of like the mentality that goes in my head. I'm like, oh my God, it's so small, it's so squishy. I don't know if I could like ever handle that, or like at this point, you know, I'm 21. I don't think about children.
Not worrying about it.
Actually, Noah and I, who was it? It was a friend of mine. A friend of mine from Salina, actually, we were saying that you and her mom should get together and be friends, because your guys' ship name would be Janji, which is great because it's Ginger and Angie. Uh-huh. It'd be either Janji or
Ginjay.
Angie. Anger.
Ooh,
and that's close to anger. And
that's like a mom. That
sounds
good.
Anger. Just mad all the time.
Yeah, sometimes I feel like it.
So what do you say we help some people out, or at least talk about them a little bit?
We can talk about it.
Okay, so this person says, any advice for someone moving out of their parents' house for the first time? I am a 17 female, moving to a college that is 300 kilometers from my parents' home. It'll be a whole new part of our lives coming up, so I'd really appreciate some tips or advice for a good start. Some practical tips would be great. Any advice about organization, my apartment, life in general would be amazing, because I'm afraid that I'll forget something that becomes obvious once I move in and start my own life. Thanks.
Pack everything. Don't leave anything at home.
Just take it all.
Oh yeah.
But what about people who are moving into a dorm? Like I mean, I wasn't able to take like all of my stuff, and I think you still have some of my stuff that like at this point,
bit, yeah, more like keepsake. Crap, I forgot that bag of stuff.
Oh, it's okay.
That you forgot.
I don't need it. I really don't need it. Like at this point, most of the things you tell me, you're like, oh yeah, I found this thing and this thing and this thing. I'm like, throw it away. Yeah. I don't need it.
I know.
Just take it.
I'm more of a keep everything person, and I hate that. I'm trying not to. Yeah. Okay, so of course, with our little particular situation when you went off to college, I think just as much as don't forget anything is that don't forget that your family is probably the most important thing that you have that's there for you and backing you. So don't kick them in the face when you go home.
So put them in a box and take them with you. Put them under your bed.
No, friends are great and friends are wonderful, and you're so excited to get into the adult world. And I didn't have that experience in that way. I went off and got married. Yeah. You know, and so. Did
you go to college? You didn't go to college at first. You just went straight into being a
I went to college at like 16 for a month. Or no. Sorry. I meant a semester for the one portion. I went for a semester, and of course it scared the crap out of me at that age. I hadn't been in school for a couple of years.
Fair enough.
But
yeah, you were homeschooled as well, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
that's
something anything.
That, like
you got homeschooled in a much better way than I did.
I don't know. Well,
like, I did school.
I talk about this a lot.
I just mean you did school.
Where I didn't is the thing though.
I know, because you were a teenage boy that was like, yeah, I did all my work.
Well, yeah, I would do like a month's worth of homework in an afternoon.
Because you're so smart.
Well, no, I was lazy.
A month's worth of homework in an afternoon is not lazy.
Yeah, it is. I'm just going through clicking shit. I mean,
okay. Well, that's a little different.
yeah. I mean, I would read some of the stuff. Like, I loved reading like about psychology and
Yeah,
what
but
little.
you got like, oh my gosh, you did. You had
Yeah.
almanacs in 5th grade.
Yeah,
And then that's right.
and
You
then I
had
became
psychology
dyslexic.
books. You read them.
I read my word count. Like, I reached it way too early.
Well, you used to read about the face.
Yeah,
reading
micro
faces.
expressions and
That was right
and
when Lie to Me
psychology.
came around, and we were watching Lie to Me, and
that was cool. I mean, and part of that was like, I was homeschooled and I was like, how do people work? Because I feel like I haven't interacted with a person in like 2 years. Because like it was really tough because like we lived on a farm.
Yeah, so we were like in town.
And I had to make efforts to go and see people, and people had to make efforts to go and see me. You know, and you're like, I was
tried to keep
what, like
it up.
7th grade, 8th grade, and
I knew your friends were important. I didn't want you to lose them.
yeah. I mean, and
So we tried to
unfortunately,
keep
like
that connection.
there's really not like anything to do there. You know, just like ended up losing connection with them anyways. You know,
Yeah.
and at that point, I think the same year I was homeschooled, I think didn't Noah move to Texas or something?
Yeah,
I
Noah
think.
moved back and forth a couple times in around that time.
And then yeah,
Blade was going to move away, and then Blade moved back, and then Blade was going to live with us.
Blade is
and
a
then
Blade is a
moved
person,
away.
by the way. She's
Yeah,
not
it's not a
talking
blade,
fondly
not
about
like,
a knife.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, and then like that was a whole thing, and but yeah, no, I remember having friends was like tough in that kind of scenario, and so I understand your situation, like being scared going to that stuff, but I also think you're a little more extroverted or introverted than I ever was, because like
I was very, very shy.
Yeah.
And then you put a 16-year-old in a lecture hall. I mean, even though it was a community college, it was huge. And, you know, I mean, I actually sat like in the first or second table, which was, I was more the put me in the corner in the back so nobody notices me kind of person.
Yeah.
But like once you get to know me and once I'm comfortable with somebody, I was not even an
for
introvert.
sure.
But,
I mean, Noah's the same
yeah.
kind of way. He's very introverted and shy, but that's one thing like I had never known about him because we had just been
because you guys
friends.
have always been friends.
And then I remember very, very clearly one time he was like, no, I'm super shy. I'm like, what are you talking about? You're not shy. And he's like, no, I am. I was like, stop, you're fucking with me. And then like I just watched him interact with other people. I was like, why are you like that? Why are you being weird? Because like around me, he and I were always like just goofy and weird and wacky, and I'm sure, you know, in some ways I ruined him for like his great like life doing like cool science stuff or whatever, because I'm like, hey, you should do a podcast with me. Hey, we should do improv. Hey, we should, you know, be silly and weird.
But he seems to like it. You guys.
Yeah, he seems to.
But that's Noah. Isn't that Noah though?
Yeah, I love him to
That's
death
great.
though.
That's fine.
He's like definitely my favorite person on the planet. I'm super happy to be living
He's
with
a
him.
good guy. I'm glad this is all working out for you guys. Cause
So
there's that part too that you put two very close people together in a situation they've never been in, and now you're living together and you're trying to maybe not schedules, but scheduling is important because you want to do podcasts and everything, and then you guys are trying to set this all up. That could like go so wrong, and you could lose your best friend forever.
Oh, we had
so
that
you
kind of
guys-
situation last semester where it was like his classes ran all morning and my classes ran all afternoon and night. And I was like, I guess I'll see you on Thursday. You know, like the one day that we
So
both
like
had something or
the
both
Odd
had
Couple.
like the time.
You need to watch the Odd Couple, like the old Odd Couple.
Yeah.
That'd be you too.
We're kind of an odd couple.
But well, back to the question though. So I don't know.
Oh no.
Like, what would you take with you to college? Of course, your absolute basic necessities, something that is your comfort from home. You know, whether it's a little animal that you sleep with or your favorite pillow.
And it really depends on like what kind of person you are too.
Right.
Because when I went to college, here's like kind of what I was leading to with like the extrovert stuff. I was like, you know, we're homeschooled and came back and were like immediately horrified. I came back and got the lead in a musical and whatever. And I was like, I just craved that kind of attention and stuff. And so when I went to college, it wasn't like a big deal. It just felt like going to like a summer camp, which is weird because I didn't go to summer camps as a kid.
Summer camp.
And so I was like, oh, cool. This is like a camp, except for, you know, I just live here.
And it costs a lot.
Yeah, and it costs a lot of. I mean, my first college didn't cost like that much. I had a ton of scholarships and stuff. I think the main thing that I remember forgetting was like basics. So like soap, like toothbrush, like
Kind of like care package kind of stuff.
yeah, like stuff like that. And like you underestimate how much underwear and socks you go through. And if you like haven't had to do like your own laundry for a while, you're just like, okay, how much soap do I put in for this? As you're like filling up a whole cap for like, you know, here's my underwear and a couple shirts, and you're just like throwing it in there, and it's nothing but suds.
Like the bubbly overflowing washer.
Yeah, no, for sure. And like healthy meals is super important, I think. Like you can go and eat at like the calf or whatever, but so much of that, especially with my first college, was just like It's like all MSG and whatever.
Well, and eating is important. Well, for you, that first year, eating and sleeping.
Oh yeah, I didn't
You weren't
sleep.
eating that great. And then, of course, everybody in college says that the cafeteria food's awful. But then you weren't sleeping.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, that like totally messes with you. I mean, and you have to study and you have to go to class and you have to maybe work because you have to have money. But you got to put time in there to somehow be healthy, because if you're not healthy, you're not doing well in school. You can't concentrate on what you're doing. And
So it sounds like we're saying basic essentials you should just like double and triple check.
yeah, there you go.
Maybe some melatonin. Just force yourself to be knocked
Rest
out.
and
It does say she is in an apartment. So what is something, do you remember moving into like a house or an apartment for the first time?
Kind of. I guess I was moving into an apartment because I got married before I was 18, right before I was 18. And so we had found an apartment and we wanted to get it and not lose it, but it was before we needed it.
Right.
So I moved into it and then my brother stayed there. That was a big disaster.
So what's something that, so basically what you're saying, don't pack your brother.
And don't take
First of all.
don't take your family with you. Leave them behind.
Shower mats.
Don't forget your family, and your family's the most important, but don't take your family with you.
It's important to have that distance.
I think it's the little things that you don't think about anytime you move. You know, the curtains,
Yeah.
the
yeah.
bath, the shower curtain,
Yeah. My current curtain is a blanket I have hanging over my window.
partially covering the window. You know, you don't, and then you're like, ooh, it's also exciting because I get to go buy these things for my home, and then you're like, $100.
Yeah.
I have $10.
Yeah. I
What
also
can I
might
get for
say-
$10? And what's the most important? I need a shower curtain. And I need a curtain on my windows, and it would be nice to be able to have a pillow and a blanket, you know? So one bowl, one spoon. I remember asking you, I was walking
that's
around
right.
the dollar store going, okay, do you have spoons? Do you have not? You know, it's just like buying you, do you have a can opener?
Yeah, I remember going through that. I opened cans with a spoon for a while.
How do you even
So
do
you
that?
can put the spoon on the edge of it, and the edge of the inside of the can is like thinner than the rest, and more like it's not as
And
structurally
rustle the
sound.
heck out of it.
So yeah,
maybe
you
lose a
can
thumb.
literally like press down like over and over and over and
my
tab stuff out.
gosh.
Yeah, no, I did that a couple times. I was like, yeah, I'm
That
gonna go get
sucks.
a.
Let's
gonna
go find a dollar can opener.
can
It'll open
opener.
a couple of cans.
Yeah, and then the can opener breaks. And you're
Yeah.
back to the spoon.
Now
And
you
you're
have
just
to
like,
get
man, this
another
spoon is
something.
better than is closer than my
You could have
closest
just
friend at
got
this
a
point.
giant army knife, you know, and just
Oh yeah, of
Rambo'd it
course.
or
Oh
something.
right, the American way. I forgot. So I told my parents my grades were worse than they actually were. What do I do? My parents had confronted me about my grades this past semester at college, and I panicked because, being the introverted procrastinator that I am, I did not check what my grades have been. So, in a panic, I had told them that I had gotten 2 Fs and a D, something that had once happened to me and something I expected of myself. Obviously, my parents were pissed, and let's just say words were said. However, I actually checked my grades later and found that they had not been as bad as I thought they were, having only 1 D and the rest being A's and B's. Should I tell my parents the truth, or should I let bygones be bygones? Because the fact that the truth is not much better than the lie. I need advice.
well, the truth was much better than the lie.
Yeah,
There was
I
no
mean-
F's.
Yeah, 2 Fs is much better than, or much
think
worse than 1 D.
Maybe it depends on the parents too, because
Yeah.
I mean,
You've
maybe
never been-
parents are paying for college, and parents expect you to do well because you know you're throwing their money away.
Yeah.
And so maybe it would be better to go, okay, look, so you asked me, and I actually thought they were this, but hey, cool, look. Well, and then I think either way, the parents would be awesome. That's much better to hear. Keep up the good work. I better not hear you're getting any more Fs or something,
Yeah.
you know?
And you've never been like super hard on me about grades or anything. So we've never had to deal with this kind of situation
I'm
personally.
not the best at like, you know, I could have been in and checking your stuff all the time as the parent, you know, with a college student, but you've always done well. I'm not saying it's always been easy for you, but you know, kind of like growing up, you and Brian didn't seem to have to work quite as hard to have the good grades.
Yeah.
And so I guess I've just never worried about you. And you usually tell me, oh, it sucks and today was awful. And hey, I passed my class. I'm like, passed your class with a C, a B, or an A. I don't care.
Yeah.
Unless it was for scholarships, that it's like, you know, you need the good grades to keep your scholarships. So that's important. And I think that sometimes until you're in the middle of it, you see it a little better, but coming into it is when it's more important that those things that you can't see in the future that don't mean as much to you right now, like how much in loans you're going to have versus let's get some scholarships. Grades become more important to you, I think, along the way when you have reasons for them to matter.
Yeah, and
So
it
you
really
maybe work harder then.
It depends on your career too, because I know some people in like the engineering and marketing, or not engineering, marketing, engineering and business schools, that they are told to put their GPA on their resume unless it's below a certain amount or whatever. But then like, I mean, still, you know, they're going to know that it's below that certain amount because they also went to college and had to do the thing.
That's the other thing. Everybody else is smart about it too. So.
Whereas I am like an arts person. And so it really doesn't matter. There's film students that straight up just don't go to classes that aren't film classes and just get by on like the bare minimum
just
in the other ones.
Get their degree and just barely
because
make it through.
In film, what matters is your portfolio, not what your GPA is. But no, I see no reason why you wouldn't tell them, right? You know, like
you'd think you'd at least get a pat on the back then instead of a growl, you know.
However, there is an edit here that I thought was funny to add afterwards. It says, "Thanks for the advice, guys." This is like from a Reddit post. It says, "Thanks for the advice, guys. It ended up backfiring, but it was resolved. Not sure if I want to talk to my therapist, but I will keep it in mind." So I guess things didn't go well for this person.
And again, it depends on the parents.
Yeah.
You got parents that are total pains in the butt, and all they're going to do is yell at you in life, and it doesn't matter how well you do.
You're telling people that parents can be pains in the butt. Parents are always right.
Oh my gosh.
Parents are always there. They know what's best. Always
out there that they have their agenda, and they have their agenda for their kids. And I don't think I've been that parent. I hope not. I mean, I've been hard on you guys, I think, here and there, and I've tried to be, and I am on your sister as she's in school. But it boils down to there's no reason to expect you to have A+ all the time, especially if you're a kid who can't achieve that, and you're going to be bawling every night. But you should at least be doing your best to work as hard as you can to do as well as you can. That, I think, is what I've tried to teach you guys.
On that note, your grades. Sorry your parents are assholes. But, you know, we're not assholes here. And so we're going to give you a break like your parents should have. And
good job,
we're going to thank our sponsors.
I'll hear you there, baby.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's what our ad is right now.
That's goofy.
Did you like that?
Yeah.
Was it fun?
Your voice. Hey, do your Sonic voice.
My Sonic voice?
Yeah.
I mean, that's kind of what I do.
We should do that in the podcast.
I mean, we're back.
Wait,
we're already back from that from the thing. But like
Anchor David.
Yeah, that was your first time hearing that ad. Do you have any notes? Any reactions?
Nope, just want to hear your Sonic voice.
Okay. Well, I mean, I kind of do a version of my Sonic voice when I'm on the podcast anyways, because when I'm not on the podcast, it's like I'm so much chiller. Like
it's just you.
Yeah. I am me. I'm playing kind of a character, but I'm like also like I don't know, it's kind of a weird dynamic like having you on because I'm much less wacky than I am with Noah, because when I'm with Noah, I'd say I'm like more of like in the character of like the Joey. I'm like being silly and saying
here you're like still my Jose.
Yeah, I'm still being Jose to you.
Jose.
But like also I'm being careful of I'm aware of my accent is kind of what's going on while I'm like on right now. So I'm like, oh, whatever. But okay. So for those of you at home, I used to work at Sonic. I mentioned it before. I think I've done the voice, but I used to answer.
The whole town loves it. It seems. I know it's not
the whole town of 300 people.
I know it's not the whole town, but
I used to do this thing where whenever I'd get on the headset, because I hated my job, and I was like, well, this sucks, but may as well make the best of it. So I'd be like, having an amazing day here at Sonic Drive-In. My name is Joe. It'd be my pleasure to take your order. And
it was awesome.
People,
I would get messages. Yeah. Somebody would have just gone through Sonic and they're like, oh my gosh, your son is so cool. I love him so much. And I'd be like, oh, that's cool. That's nice.
Yeah. And it's super weird.
And we loved it. Katie loved it.
It's such an odd thing. It's like not even like a great, I don't know. I do it to people now, like whenever I'm like fake announcing or whatever. People are like, wow, I hated that. I'm like, yeah, no, it's a little cringy.
But in a small town and at the who thinks that they're gonna go up to the Sonic and get, oh, thank you for coming to Sonic. Welcome to Sonic. Can I take you? Like, welcome to Good Burger.
Yeah, everyone thought I was like a recording.
It was awesome. It was just cool.
It was my favorite to play into it too.
Especially as a 16, 17-year-old. I mean,
oh yeah, for sure. Deal. Yeah, no, I would do this thing where they'd be like, oh, can I have like a number one supersonic burger with a side of tots? I was like, was that a number one supersonic burger with side of tots?
Trying to be the computer back.
Yeah. And then they drive around and then I'd talk to them.
You stick your head out the window like, and they're like, what the
is going on?
That was awesome. But they did. People thought it was cool.
And I got tips from it. Like people would be like, hey, can you come out to the car? And then I like multiple times would get like $5+ tips just for like people to be
See,
like, say
there you
something
go.
to me.
Voice sells.
Yeah, I mean, I guess. I don't know. Well, obviously you listen to the podcast avidly, so you know the segment we do right after the break.
Always. I'm right
Yeah.
there with you. So what are we doing right after the break?
Well, I mean, obviously it's the say it with me, say it with it. The this week we learned. Yeah, there you go.
Oh yeah, that part. We already talked about this.
Yeah.
This week we learned. I'm like, what are we talking about?
Yeah, you're so in on it. You know.
I'm sorry, I'm right there.
Yeah,
I
no,
got you.
my mom doesn't listen to my podcast.
Your mom
so,
needs a nap.
Amy is officially the better mom.
Yes, I know. I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
Go,
you better
Amy.
be sorry. Gosh.
Go Amy. Go Amy.
Don't root for Amy. She doesn't need it. She knows she's cool. She was already on Noah's podcast. Actually, hold on. This one might come out before Amy's on Noah's.
Hurry, rush. I could beat her at something.
What'd you learn this week, Mom?
What did I learn? Okay, so there's, all different ways that you can learn something. And I'm trying to think, did I learn some valuable lesson? Did I learn? It's like, no, I had the opportunity with my work to go to a place in Wichita. Mm-hmm. I do Braille for students. And so I work with low vision, no vision students.
Yeah. And that's cool. Like,
and
it's something that's not very, like,
not real common.
Yeah.
I love it. Absolutely love it. I'm so glad I have the opportunity. And I like working with the kiddos, and I don't have to sit in a classroom and work all day. And I don't have to work one-on-one with one student all day. So in part of the work that I do, I have to go sit at a table and draw pictures to make them tactile so they can feel what we're so used to seeing. And I don't do everything, but graphs, bar graphs, scatter plots, a picture of a cell, whatever it is, whether it's for science, sometimes math, there's 3 balls and there's ways to make it different. But so I had almost opted out of going to this place. They were having like an open house, and they provide services to people that have vision problems. And they were having an open house of technology for the kids, for the parents, for the teachers, and everybody. They showed me a couple of different pieces of software that I can, almost like in Paint, I can create a bar graph. And then I could put it into, you use translation software that then turns something to Braille. Then you have to format it and everything. So then you can print it out. Well, this will take the image and then translate it so that it's dots that are creating that image. So it prints it on the paper instead of I have to draw everything. So you puffy paint, you have these special little wheels that you have to do a reverse image to get the texture on the other side of the paper. We have graph tape, and you're supposed to keep the textures down to like 4, which is really hard in science when you have a cell with 10 different things that are labeled. So I'm just excited. That's so it's work related.
That does that for you.
And there's one that's available for free that works with my older type of equipment.
Okay, I was going to say that was my next question: is if it requires new equipment.
No.
So it just uses the same equipment for Braille to just make those lines on its own?
It's called an embosser, and that pushes all the bumps on the paper. So I'm excited. That's the thing that I learned the most this week, I guess. So.
I mean, that's pretty cool. I mean, still, like, and I tell Noah all the time, I'm like, it doesn't have to be something big. Like, we don't have to do anything.
It doesn't have to be deep.
Huge. Like, we do like some silly ones. I don't know if. I mean, I guess you haven't listened, but like, if you listen, there's some silly ones. We started doing it more here in season 2, but we'll be more consistent about it in later seasons.
But anything that helps. My job, it can get really very monotonous,
and it's cool for people to hear about that kind of stuff too, because being someone who is a para for and works with the visually impaired, that is not something people think about a lot. Like, you don't think about being blind. We take it super for granted.
Yeah, their textbooks, I prepare them. I prepare them all year, and it takes time.
Oh, for sure.
It takes a lot of time.
Yeah. So. I mean, that's incredibly wholesome. I'm trying to think of a better. I had a This Week I Learned prepared, and it's not anywhere near as wholesome as that. So I'm trying to think of another one really quick. I guess I'll say them both, and then I'll cut the one that I decide not to use.
There you go.
So this week I learned about Bali and about the
island.
Yeah, the stuff that, well, not the island one. That's Nauru. Okay. Bali's a little bit different. So they have this form of rice production that has been going on for thousands of years. That is based and like intertwined with their culture and their religion. And essentially, it's set up on a system of water temples that let the farmers know when to flood their fields and when to like actually harvest crops and everything else. So essentially what happened is they were doing this for thousands of years. Then the Green Revolution started, which is westernization of all farming tactics. And we're in Kansas. We know a thing or two about farming tactics.
Yeah, a little bit.
Basically what we do is we dump a ton of fertilizer on stuff, and then when the bugs come, we just like pour thousands of gallons of pesticides. And if we don't get rid of the bugs the first time, just add some more on there. And so that's what was happening in Bali.
As long as it doesn't kill your crop, pesticide it, it's okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and so that's what's happening in Bali. They put on their fertilizers and they put on pesticides, and they told them, all right, so you guys are getting like 2 yields a year or whatever. We should be able to double that, get 4 yields a year. We'll just do this. Screw your water system or whatever. Just have all of the fields
your gorgeous
like, flooded all the
plan
time.
that has been your livelihood and your religion and your everything for your.
And Balinese culture is like super beautiful, and like the more you get into it, it's like, oh wow, it's like such an amazing culture. They have this great quote that I pulled from. This is part of my anthropology class, but it was like in Balinese culture, it is not important how long something lasts, but only how close to perfection it is, because nothing perfect lasts forever. And I was like, damn, that shit hits like in the feels for some good, like, if I was going through like a horrible breakup right now, I'd just be like, oh God, I'm about to cry. But so didn't want to do this thing. They were forced to do it by the government. And they found that pests were becoming ever more an issue. And so they just kept dumping more and more fertilizer and more pesticides, and their yields were getting worse. And this guy named Lansing is an anthropologist in the area who'd been living there for like 30, 40 years, starts, talking to scientists like, hey, this is like what you look at and see as their religion is what we would look at and see as agricultural science. They just don't have a way to express it in the way that we do. And so it was like a whole thing. And I think now they're pulling back on it, but it's been like, 30 years. And
to come back from that, kind of like that island.
I mean, and granted, it's not like hurting the rice production or anything, but what is happening is, because we went in and decided, oh yeah, we're going to do things this way without looking at the extenuating circumstances and the effects past doing this. Like, what are the effects of dumping tons of fertilizer onto rice paddy fields,
plants, but
which are
soil and water?
Yeah, it's water, and they flood them. So what they would originally do to control the pests is they would fill the fields, plant their rice, harvest their rice, and then they would flood the fields. And what that would do is it would just completely wipe away everything from the previous year. And that in itself, the water gets rid of all the pests.
Right.
Like, they don't have to worry about it anymore. And the algae that grows on the water fertilizes the rice without any fertilizer needing being done. And when the algae gets too much, they have farms with ducks that they bring over, and the ducks feed on the algae. And then when they poop in the water, that fertilizes them. And then the ducks go into the village and become food.
And then now they're
and so it's like this whole circle of things.
There was no pesticides, and there was no herbicides.
Exactly. They can't feed this stuff to the ducks anymore.
The ducks were delicious and healthy, and everything was fine, and we weren't getting it at us. But now it's not.
Yeah. So they can't eat the ducks anymore. The algae is growing faster than it needs to,
than it did before.
And then they're flooding it, and so Bali is on the side of a mountain, and or their fields are at least, and when they flood the fields, the water goes down the mountain off into the ocean, and what Lansing was finding was when they would flood it after all of this fertilizer was pumped into the water, is that algae was growing on the rocks that hadn't been found there previously. And they're like, oh, well, that's weird that this algae is growing here. Like, it's never grown here before, but now it's got like nutrients to feed on here that are ever more prevalent because we just keep dumping them. And there's no bugs or anything to keep that kind of stuff in check because there's so many pesticides in it. And then because they're dumping it off the mountain into the ocean, it's being carried by the currents into the reef. and it's killing it.
Killing the reef.
And so
reefs are beautiful.
Yeah, I mean,
no matter where they're at.
I mean, some
alive,
of them, not anymore.
When they're alive, they're so beautiful.
And so, yeah, that's something I learned.
Humans, if we just stay out of things.
For real.
I'm serious, though.
Noah and I had a whole episode. I think we actually cut like half of it because we just started talking and we're just like, humans are the problem. Yeah, we really destroy things.
We really are. And I'm not like real big into Mother Earth and New Age and all that, but I garden.
Mm-hmm.
I hate having to use any kind of pesticide. Because if nothing else, I'm ingesting that. You put that on there to kill a bug, but I'm supposed to eat the piece of fruit that's covered with the stuff that you use to kill the bugs.
Oh, yeah, that's fine.
I'm not talking about the death. I'm talking about the pesticide, the chemical is there, but I now have to ingest it. But tell me that that's okay, but that was something that killed. It was a chemical that killed something.
Yeah.
I don't understand. I don't understand.
No, they're like, oh, that's definitely not going to lead to cancer. In 50 years.
That's
don't
never
worry
going to
about it.
affect
Like
you.
we're not going to find out. Like
you just sprayed a can full of wasp spray on a wasp to to kill it,
and you're breathing
that in.
And it's not a problem.
But then maybe that wasp was right there next to your grapes, but your grapes are okay to eat.
We're not going to like do stuff like the radiation girls back in the 40s. Do you know about that?
I don't know that I know that one.
Their job was to take this it was supposedly a safe radioactive paint, and you put it onto watches and stuff like that so that it glows in the dark and you can see it. And they did it for part of the war movement. And they would do it for years and years after because people were like, oh, this is super handy. But like the girls would get kind of fancy with it sometimes and be like started taking some of the paint home, and they'd be like, oh, I'm gonna paint my lingerie with this. I'm gonna put it on my nails. I'm gonna do this. And it's like all super horrible cancer.
Oh gosh.
But yeah, so that's like a whole other story in itself.
Right. But you got to think. I mean, to me, sometimes it's common sense with some of that too. Get whether you want to call it science or you want to call it.
I think what I'm gonna do,
or whatever, it's
just so we can wrap up this section just a little bit. But so we don't go so far into people are fucking terrible. I'll put some links in the description down below for like some good like causes. There's one called Planet Change that I really like what they're doing, and it's like I think it's called Planet Change, but they'll be down there. They do some really good work for these kinds of things. So what do you say we answer one more question and then we'll get out of here?
Okay.
All right. So my internet provider tells my parents about porn. Hello, everyone. For context, I'm 16 and I live in Ireland. Oh, I guess I could do a little accent. Last night I was fast asleep when my mother walks in demanding for a reason for me going on adult sites. Now, to be honest with you, I had no clue what they were talking about. I actually thought, no way that they think Steam is an 18 plus, right? And I gave the face of complete confusion. Then they said, oh, we got an email from the provider saying someone in the house watches porn. And I was like, oh, right. So, I don't see watching porn as morally wrong or anything. But anyways, we had this argument about how porn degrades women and how I shouldn't watch porn because I don't know the first thing about sex because I'm a virgin. What the fuck should I do? What would you do?
No comment.
Yeah, no comment. Did you know I was watching porn when I was a kid?
Oh my God, you just blow my mind.
Oh, really?
Oh my God.
Oh, Mom, I watched so much porn.
Are you serious?
Oh, so all the time.
Oh my gosh. I was such a horrible mother.
Why does that make you a horrible mother? Because I was watching things.
So I have my prudish side that is, I am so against.
And I constantly press that because I'm not a huge fan of it. But now I'm an adult and I'm allowed to.
So I am not at all a perfect person. I'm going to put that little religious plug in there that I believe in God and I believe in the Bible. And so there's times in my life that I do really good at feeling like that I'm hopefully doing what I'm supposed to do. And there's other times in my life that I'm like, yeah, I know.
I think an important thing to note there is that you're not hurting anybody when you do it. Like is like the main thing. Like because a lot of people, and sorry, I don't mean to like super interrupt you, but like just as like a good like stake in the ground is like, you know that I'm not religious,
right?
And I know that you are, right. But both of us can carry on and be okay with that because we're not like hurting each other.
We're
like,
not forcing one on the other, and
which I think is an important thing that you do.
And it was
that's
hard
nice.
For me because I love my children and I want that for my children, because I believe there's an end when we're gone. And I want you and your siblings to have the same end that I feel that I am going to have. And so, but I believe in the Bible and I believe in God. So I believe in heaven and I believe in hell, so that's my belief. But, we were talking earlier about stuff with me and Brian and whatever. It's like one of the things that I started his senior year of high school was he's going to go away. This is my baby. Yeah. And we actually had a situation where he was almost going to not be there his senior year. And so I was struggling with letting go as a mother. But that goes all along through life with children, even though you're 21 and he's 27, that there's always a time of letting go a little more, I guess. And that's hard for me sometimes because I just want my babies. I love you guys so much. So without getting emotional about it, I had a mom that, well, if I didn't believe what she believed, then I was wrong. And then there was a lecture for hours and hours and hours and hours and hours. I didn't want that for my children. Anyway, so with all of that in mind, I've seen porn. I'll say I've watched porn, and I think the body is a beautiful thing, and nudity is a beautiful thing, and then there's the art side of it, and it's natural. But you have to look. The more you watch porn, the more you want. And so I guess I feel in raising children and in being in life that we should protect that as young as possible.
So is this the scolding I would get if you found out I was watching porn at 16?
You would have lost all your electronics, so you probably wouldn't have gotten back for quite a long time.
Yeah. Oh, but I was homeschooled, Mom. I had to.
No, there's ways to do that. Mom can sit over your shoulder and you can do your homework.
Mom can sit over your shoulder and figure out what
I gave you freedom. I thought it was okay to give you freedom. You were 13. You taught yourself animation.
Yeah,
you did some wonderful things with electronics.
Yeah.
And we were, I didn't buy them for you, so I made you learn. I feel like you had to learn, and you were really good at it back then, at least. Say, what do you want? Save your money for it and buy what you want.
Yeah,
and you did.
I think a big motivator for that for me was definitely porn.
Definitely can't have I don't have access to porn, or I get access to better porn if I can have a bigger screen.
Exactly. No. It was like, do I get like the iPod, like whatever? It's like, yeah, but they can't access the internet and the screen's smaller. The iPod Touch, however, accesses the internet. It's all screen.
iPod Touch did not get you porn.
Oh, it absolutely did.
Oh shit! I'm a horrible
so
mother.
much porn.
I let you get this shit.
And I had a computer. The devil was in your household.
You had
no
the devil in your hands.
Yeah, no, for real. I mean, it wasn't even like. Yeah, no, it was all the time.
Okay, so in relationships, taking it away from 16-year-old, because this has been something that comes up no matter relationship that we're in, is I have a hard time with, I don't want to be with somebody that needs to have somebody else. And I don't care if that somebody else is on the TV. Okay. If you have to have porn, or you need to have naked boobs, and you need to see everybody else's. I do.
Okay.
I do.
Interesting.
And I think even farther than that, though, is if one of you feels that way, then you are.
Yeah, no, and I think...
If you both have an agreement or a situation where that's okay between the two of you and that's what you want, that's your prerogative. I don't believe it's healthy. I don't believe that it's healthy for anybody to absorb themselves in it.
Yeah.
I mean, you see it.
Do you think that's why I'm so fucked up?
No, I'm sure there's way more reasons that you're more as fucked up as you are. I don't see you as a mess or anything really.
Oh, not entirely, but I think we're all just a little bit of our own messes, and that's a little beautiful in its own way.
I'm so proud of you. I think this is amazing. I'm so proud of you. I'm so proud of your brother.
So, thank you. But what do you think this kid should do then?
I think he should do whatever his parents tell him to do.
Okay.
Let's just cut and dry. If mom and dad say, "Excuse me, son," and they find out it was him and he loses his electronics, I'm sure he's going to go to Joey's house and sit and watch porn at Joey's house. But apparently mom and dad don't want you doing it at their house. So
all right, fair enough. Find new places
to look at porn.
Maybe
mom finds out it was dad, and it's a whole nother story.
There you go. Ooh, there you go. I like that avenue. Blame dad.
Let's see if
just look at him and be like, what are you going on about? I'm on Steam all the time. What are you talking about? Maybe it's because of you, and his dad's over here. He's fit as a fiddle. You haven't gone to the gym in months, Mum. And then
God.
And then he's like, of course, Dad needs to look at
I thought he was watching football in the living room at 10 o'clock at night.
He's going in Pornhub looking at the MILF section, and he's needs something in his life. You know what I'm saying, Mum? And so I think that's probably the best.
Which is a whole nother topic. It was all with the best of intentions. I did try.
Yeah. No, and speaking of like best intentions. I would hope that everybody out there understands that we have the best intentions with this podcast, and maybe, just maybe, you guys can help with those best intentions by donating. We do have a way for people to donate to the podcast and become patrons every month. You guys can go to our Anchor page and submit just a tiny donation, just whatever you want. Do something, not like a slap in the face. Don't do like here's $2. A quarter is fine. That's fine, actually. I'll take that. That's minimum. I think Anchor takes a quarter of our quarters, so I don't know what half of a nickel is, but you know. But yeah, no, you guys can definitely do that, or you guys can subscribe to us anywhere. YouTube, we're getting to iTunes. I don't know though, isn't on iTunes yet, but Noah Asked is officially, so go check it out and rate it and review it. That's my spiel. Mom, what is an interesting word?
Coinky dink.
Coinky dink.
I don't know. Actually, supercalifragilisticexpialidocious pops into my head. Is the first one.
All right. Well, thank you guys. Have yourselves a lovely week. We'll be back with Noah Asked.
Bye.
Hey everyone. Thanks for listening to this Humorish podcast. You can email your questions to humorish.tm@gmail.com and talk to us on Twitter using the hashtag IDKTHO show. The podcast music was Marigolds in May by Jamie Bathgate.